Got 11 people in the Zoom room. Martin Mcnicholl's here in the house and all the UK crew. What's the crack? Let me play a short intro so we can let people have time to come in and so I can share through the Soulogy network. So I'll be back in 3 minutes and 47 seconds.
Medina, SoulogyOneStudios. Got a little soul speak, something different. What do we have here, man? I mean, between us all, one and all. Gotta count it all, because we all are climbing the same mountain. We got these building blocks of differences, directed by our inferences. Culture, country, clannish preferences, religious references. Seems we were controlled by outer man. Seems we are conceived by inner man. This was all the plan to find our way back now. Yeah. It's a master's plan. We're all the same brand. Gotta see differences to our differences. Gotta start asking ourselves, what are these differences? Can't be all that strong. What happens if we start taking them down one by one, these walls? You go first, man. And then you go next, sister. Take out Islam, Muhammad, Allah. Okay, then take out Jesus, Mary, Joseph, and all the gods. Let's take out white ain't always right. I love the beauty of the darkest night. You say no more gays, I say no more straights. What about the sciences, stars, houses, wars, cars? Strip it all off till we have nothing left. Nothing left at all. But what? Me and you? You and me? Then the other is gone, and what you got left? That's all we need. That's all we got. That's all we need. That's all we got. That's all we need. And it's all we got. And that ought to tell you something about who and what. You all right? Who and what you and I are. We are the Jesus and Allah, the sciences, spirits, and the stars, coming down the promenade, apocalyptic, no longer cryptic. Mother Mystic says the veil is lifted. Time to come home, but stay where you are. Stay where you are, baby. That's all we need, and that's all we got. It's all we need, and it's all we got. It's all we need, and it's all we got. Namaste.
All right, let's get that crazy guy off of there. We got 45 people in the house, over 10 in the Zoom room. That's very, very cool. Thank you, everybody. If these shows resonate, please share. We're not getting notifications sent out. It's not on our end, but that's okay. We can shift this thing and transform it. All right, let's see. Let's pull up Mark Mcnicholl. It's a long time coming. We've never talked, so in typical Soulogy style, we're going to get to know each other in front of all of our brothers and sisters and have a conversation.
Yay.
Oh, there you go. There you go. What's up, Martin?
Dude, what's the crack? What's the crack, my friend? My brothers, good to see you.
What's the crack? Hi.
All is good. All is good. All is good.
I gotta go back. I gotta go back into my Outlander vocabulary and accent.
Yeah, it's deep inside you. That warrior spirit's deep inside.
It's a long Isn't it? He's feral. That's what Morgan calls me, feral. You're so feral. And I didn't know what that meant. And then I looked it up and it said wild. And I said, okay, I can take that.
Yeah,
So it's a
well,
long
it's
time
good.
coming. It's a pleasure to meet
Yeah,
you. I've seen your energy out there. I've also seen the beautiful energy of your family, which is very cool.
yeah,
Uh, Not a lot of
blessed.
people going through this ascension that I've met that have the whole family thing going and everything is, coming up roses. Yeah. So
Well,
that's a, you know, a unique spin in a world where there's a lot of dysfunction.
yeah. Like I always like to say, every rose has its thorns. So we got the roses, but we got the thorns too. But we show it all. We live it all. So it's good.
Yeah, that's a good saying. There's an old country western song that says that every rose has
Really?
its thorns. Or yeah,
Ah.
yeah. No. Actually, that's not country western. It's in my head. It's I can't remember. It's like Bon Jovi. Bon Jovi or one of those. So you've been doing this for quite some while. We've got a lot of mutual friends. We
Yeah.
just talked to Melissa Deegan. Just talked to I think Susan Mara. I think was at
Yeah.
this retreat that you guys had the crew. I
Yeah.
loved the description of the crew. Somebody said it was a crew versus the old teacher student paradigm, but it's a crew,
Yeah.
right? You guys have a crew. I've
Yeah.
told Morgan for months. I said I didn't use the word crew, but I said there's like a group over there that we're like aligned with. I can feel it. So I don't know what you
Yeah.
do in the New Earth Mystery School and the other stuff that you do. I mean, this is really a platform of sharing, freely sharing, trying to figure this thing out, and by trading stories and just talking about what's happening and trying to activate each other. So it's just a conversation. But I have to ask you the famous question. Uh, when did you wake up? Did you have a wake up experience? How did that happen? In the spirit of maybe helping people who are waking up now.
Yeah. I never went to sleep, and neither did anyone else. So my journey is based on self-realization. My journey is based on there. We never fell asleep. We can't wake up. We are already awake. We've already been here before. We're just dreaming. We're just dreaming different aspects of being asleep, being awake. It's all a dream. It's all an illusion, but it's a beautiful illusion. And it's one that we can use for any perspective, any way we want to look at it. So I never fell asleep. I can't wake up. I was never born. I will never die. As you were never born and you can never die. What we are is infinite. What we are is the all. But we can dream this dream. I've had plenty nightmares, but I'm dreaming the dream now. So, yeah.
You're right on. Yeah. We're always
There's
ascending.
been,
Al-
yeah,
Always growing, right? Yeah. I can remember as a little kid, and and the truth is we were never asleep. We were in denial, we were lost,
yeah,
whatever you want to call it. And that's part of the gig. We can't really see it from this side of the veil only, but
yeah,
yeah, I remember from a very young age, just knowing, like very young. I mean, from the beginning, just knowing the word that I was here to grow. That anything that offered me the opportunity to grow uh, was what it was all about. And of course, as time goes on, that turns into the things that maybe you don't feel so comfortable with going into it, and then you start to realize the value of it.
yeah. So I say I never fell asleep. I did live plenty nightmares. I lived a long nightmare in this lifetime. So I born in Ireland, born in the stereotypical. Well, I was born in the late 70s, in the middle of what's known as the Troubles in Northern Ireland. So I was born into separation, born into war, army on the street, bombs, violence, normalized killing, all of that stuff. So around 13 years old, I found the pathway to escape, and that was through drink, through drugs. So that started a 20-year love-hate affair with drink, drugs, everything that I could get my hands on, anything that I could try and take myself out of the pain and suffering I was feeling. So whenever I say I never fell asleep and I never woke up, I'm living a life. I've lived a full life. I've been to the depths. I've been to the depression. I've been to the spaces where I didn't want to be here numerous times. but I always stood up, and I always remembered. I always knew there was something inside. I knew it was there for a reason, and I knew what was happening was for a reason. But I've been to the depths. I've been to the depths. I was just thinking when I was coming to do this show, like only 10 years ago, I was living in a house with a guy that was shooting up speed, or what's it, meth every day, 10 years ago. And now I'm doing shooting up people in love. I've been through a lot of shit. I've given a lot of shit. I've hurt a lot of people. I've hurt mostly myself, but I'm here now as the truth. I'm here now as one who's remembered. And all I'm here to do is serve and remind others who have forgotten.
Yeah. Here to that. A big mug of Guinness and a shot of Irish whiskey to that.
Barrels.
Energetic.
No, mugs were never good enough.
Energetically speaking. Yeah, man, that's real talk. That's the truth. You know, the truth is, I mean, just like the show we just got off of with these brave, courageous souls, Vera and Augusti, just, you know, in human terms, throwing caution to the wind and going out and doing it. And how that doesn't always feel comfortable. You know, I mean, we can identify with that. Morgan and I over here, you know, it's whatever's going on. And what are your thoughts on this? I mean, I'm not trying to create a leading question or an opinion, but it seems to me whatever's going on, what you described since you can remember, and myself, whatever's happening, there's more congruency, clarity. That's expanding very rapidly. Our truth, I guess, you know, just try to use one word that covers everything, but truth and all the parallels, all the virtues, everything that goes with that, all seems to be really, really accelerating at warp speed. Can you relate to that? I mean, in your journey, are you seeing a huge acceleration here, especially these last few months?
Absolutely. It's like nothing I've ever experienced before in this capacity of perception. But what I see is it's the falling away of what we are not. We are always at that full space. We are always at that infinite all. But it's blinded with the veils, with the limiting beliefs, with the shadows, with everything that is piled on top of us. But what is happening is that is falling away at bigger speed. So what we are is emerging. What we are is felt, is seen, is heard. We're speaking it. There's no gap between feeling it and expressing it now. So what was clouding what we are is dissolving at record time, you could say. It's because it has nothing to cling on to now, because people like you and what you're doing and all the people around the world now are leading from the heart. And those things can't attach to the heart. They can only attach to the mind, to the small mind, to what we believed ourselves to be before. So everything is falling away. It's like we're becoming non-stick. So nothing is holding anymore. We can still hold on. We can still play that game for a while, but it's falling away. So what we truly are has been seen and felt, and that truth is expressed whenever we follow that, whenever we take those intuitions, whenever we speak about that thing that you were afraid to speak. Talk to that person, take that chance, jump off that cliff, know that your wings are there, know that there's no bottom. That's what's happening, I feel. It's a falling away of what we are not, and what we truly are is just our natural state of miracles.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because of the parallel in the micro experience and the macro collective experience. So on one hand, you know, you're in the UK, so that's always been a prominent place. I mean, you know, a lot of awareness of what's happening, or at least what they want us to think was happening, however you want to put it. But you know, especially with what you talk about growing up in Ireland, because I remember reading about that stuff. That was very, very far out there, you know, coming after Vietnam and all that, and having that type of violence, potential violence happening. But anyway, my point is so on the collective, you see all this stuff, right? You know, and that we've always been fed and seen. And I'm like watching everybody, at least from my vantage point and in my own personal experience, I'm like going, that ain't nothing. You know, like it doesn't even, it's like something playing in the background that I can't even get my eyes on. It's just playing and it's irrelevant. And so
Yeah.
the reason I bring that up is because what you're describing, and I think this is what people are starting to come into, is that when we as we journey to this in the trajectory of what you're describing and in that space, everything starts to change around us in the circles closest to us very rapidly. Very rapidly. It's like people's focus is becoming, I guess, more present. And what really intrigues me is what happens to the collective experience as more and more people walk that path and expand on that path. I call it the soul highway, but I want, you know,
Yeah.
what does that look like? You know, beyond there's going to be a universal blink and event and, you know, and a financial reset and, you know, the queen's going to pop some golden eggs out of her arse or whatever, you know, no offense to Teresa, but you know what I mean? I mean, it's like
Melissa's been working on you there with that.
but the potential of the individual is one thing. And then I go, wow, so that's going on. And then what's going to happen in the collective thing? Wow. I mean, because you got it, what's within, what's without, you know. So, God, we're in the. I can't imagine having lived in a better time and space. You know.
Sure, we are at the leading edge. We're at the cutting edge. We're at this moment. I don't subscribe to that event thing because it's like limiting. It's like one event. We are the event continuously. We are always the event. But what I feel like what happens in the collective when what you just shared, what happens is all of these separations falls away. So the queen and her golden eggs and the separation we've seen in her and us, and that's over there, that falls away. And we open and we see ourselves in everyone and everything, and the separation drops away and unity consciousness rises. And even the most darkest experiences and even the things that we judge the most, that veil falls away, and that game of separation no longer applies. So more and more in the collective, you're going to see yourself in all things. You're going to discover yourself in everyone and everything, and everyone and everything will discover themselves in you, for there is only one. So the collective will see itself individually and collectively, and illusions, veils will fall.
Yeah. Yeah. People bring up the it would make me uncomfortable until I got into, and I don't talk to a lot of people, but I'm talking in regard to the you know, the attachment, and I know it's not an easy road to things that have come to the surface and that you can see are being laid out a little bit at a time. And I'm talking about pedophilia, child trafficking, all the real stuff that went on behind the scenes. It's all coming out supposedly. That's not my point. You know, my point is when people bring that up, like, oh, okay, well, you know, there is evil or there is bad or whatever the case. I'm like, no, dude, we can't understand all this. That's not the point. You know, I'm less interested, if I'm interested at all, in hearing what the, you know, what the big poop is about this or about that, or what the real story was or whatever. I'm more interested to see how humanity is going to react to these things that they think they're not, or diametrically opposed to, these limitations that you're talking about. My question is unity consciousness and oneness, I mean, I know, I guess it's just a opinion or whatever, but from your perspective, is unity consciousness, oneness, no separation happening whether we fight it or not? I mean, like, it's here, it's coming, it's not going to stop and let go or be dragged. Or is it entirely up to us?
It already is. Unity consciousness is. The unity, the wholeness, the oneness, the infinite, whatever, all these words that just point towards something that can't be named, it already is. So there is no time. So a lot of our community talk about time as an illusion, but then we talk about evolution, and we talk about ascension, and we talk about getting here, and we talk about achieving this, and we talk about the event. if time is an illusion, if that's what we believe, then there cannot be any of these things. There is no separation. This is merely a dream that we're dreaming, so that the infinite all that can't experience itself can, through our individuation and through our journeying and evolution through this, what we know of as time, which is ultimately just a field that we move through, so the self can discover itself through us. So we use this opportunity to dream the dream. Like us, we live the life, but ultimately it is a dream. Ultimately, it's not real. People get too caught up in their stories and their dramas and even their spiritual dramas. And I do myself. I teach what I need to learn, but it's a dream. It's an illusion. So unity, unity is, wholeness is. We are parts of that dreaming that we're not looking back at ourselves through our eyes, using these experiences to discover and to sing and dance and laugh and create and rise and fall and get depressed and get blissful and experience it all. Because in unity, there is no experience. It can't experience itself without duality. So we are that game, but we exist in all dimensions simultaneously. Aspects of us are all already enlightened, awakened, ascended, whatever word we want to use. And we are all part of that. We aren't separate from that, but we can use this illusion to remind each other, to activate this compassion, this love, this journey that we're moving through. But ultimately, we need to begin at the end and see that it is a dream, it is an illusion. So then we can begin to use it, and we can use it for the purpose it was created, to create a contextual field so that we may experience ourself as self. So ultimately, we're already there, it's already done, and we can go on a journey.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if y'all caught what he said. Yeah, no, I love what you said. I teach what I need to learn. I teach what I must learn.
Always.
I mean,
every word that comes out of my mouth.
To me, yeah. I think I think there's been a shift. There's been like this shift where we had and and I say this in the highest reverence, that got us to where we needed to be. That yogi guru, codependent frequency, inferiority, superiority, student, teacher. I love the fact, because I've actually observed this in myself. I've observed it in people for 8 years, and that they come in with this stuff. They have the balls to put it out in some form or fashion of expression, a written post, a video, whatever. And you see, it's like a forecasted intel. It's like whatever we pull down is first meant for ourselves. They put it out because there is a parallel in the universal. As the individual goes, so goes the collective. But you actually see the people step into the growth that they basically prophesized in their own life. That's that's the way I see it. I mean, so I just want to say thank you for that statement. I teach what I need to learn, because man, that really identifies the post-wounded healer, energetic healer out there, and we're all that, Yeah, that's and then the other thing too that you bring up that makes me think, which I think about. Well, we're here, we're conscious in this body. You're Martin, I'm Todd, in this situation, whatever, 99.99% of the time. And we are getting bits and pieces. We always have. They're coming in faster and faster and faster. So that dimensionality recognition within ourselves and so on, and everything that goes with that, skills, abilities, the whole 9 yards, is becoming more and more, has more and more traction with each individual every day. And then you hear people talk about embodying. So you embody all that stuff. What does that mean? And to me, I'm starting to get to the point where it's like this energy plus this energy plus this energy. And now we're at the equal sign. Equals what? Equals like we can actually take all of that and implement it here and literally create this fantastic, whatever we want, no limitations, just like in dream state. You can, create anything you want in the instant. And I mean, I'm thinking, wow, is this possible? Well, if we can think of it, it is,
Absolutely.
That's the way I look at it.
And those aspects that you're drawing or like I said, you exist at all dimensions at all times. You're drawing on the aspects of yourself that already exists at these, what we call higher dimensions, that are actually not levels. They're not somewhere that you get to. Everything exists as is. The unity exists, the dimensions exist within. And these are frequencies that we can align to. So whenever you're drawing something, as you do, as we do, as many of this community do, draw something that doesn't seem to fit with third dimensional reality, you're drawing on the aspect of yourself that is existent in these higher dimensions that have already, as you said, like embodied, like that is already the reality there. You're drawing from that to bring that aspect here. But it's not to get there, it's to realize you already are. It's not so that you can discover something, it's so that you can remember it already is. And it's so that you can remind everyone else that's forgotten.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah. And another thing I noticed too is like, you know, we had these attachments to the traumas that woke us up, I guess is the way I'd put it, to the shadows or whatever you want to call it. So we had this attachment, we had to tell the story. And then I start to see the same type of detachment because we, you know, we work through these things and we detach and we realize they're not a part of us. They don't make us and all that. But also the multidimensional connections and the past life and future life recollections and all that, where we like held, oh my God, I was this in a past life, or I can do this, or and you saw that kind of happen. I did throughout the year, people starting to say, okay, wait a minute, you know, he can do that and I can't do that. That whole equation doesn't fit. And so you start to see people stepping into their power, which to me is a huge sign as we move into 2020. What do you think 2020 is going to look like? I mean, you know, as you reflect on these last few years and seeing how everything's evolved.
So I don't tend to look forward. I tend to look within, and what I see, what I feel is a huge, I can only talk from my perspective, which is one perspective on infinite potential, that I just see a huge expansion of love, the information age, the internet. This is the time that was prophesized. It's not the way it was prophesized, but it is this expansion of consciousness, this interconnectedness, this ability for nothing to be hidden anymore. There's no ability to suppress the information, no matter how hard it's tried. So I just see ever greater expansion, ever greater openness. And as you said, I would like to go back and touch on that, is when you talked about these aspects that we don't want to see, the aspects that will come up. I see this coming up even stronger, even stronger. That is going to come up because we are here to own and embrace that. A collective means collective. It doesn't mean these people that I like, but these part of the collective, they're separate. A collective is one. So the higher aspects that I work with, collective consciousness, they are one being. But they can manifest as the separate. But we are a collective, and we're manifested as all these different separates and so many different ones. So what we are doing here is going to expand, and it's ever greater expanding. It's not years, days, moment. It's like literally just it is now. So what I feel is that will come more and more. And this, my work, my mission has been very strongly linked with specifically sexual abuse, trauma around sexual abuse, sexual crime, working and empowering, reframing, serving those and empowering them to really step into their mission and their power. This is my deepest journey here, deepest mission, is to empower those that have been through that in various different ways, through breathwork, through all the other things that we bring through the mystery school. That is, those are the people that are here to really shift this world. Those people that have been inside that, those people, and there are there's many more than what we think of. And we don't need to focus on that, but we need to focus on how can we uplift them? How can we support them? How can we allow them to reframe so that they can come and lead? They are going to lead with the heart and lead this transmutation of this human collective shadow of abuse, of torture, of degradation, of separation, of the suppressing of the feminine, all of these things. The people that have been through that are the people that are going to transmute that, and we are here holding space for all of them. So I see more of that.
I agree with that.
Expansion.
I see a lot of people, well, most of the people that come on this show, they had, I don't even call it a dark night of the soul, because most of them were successive dark nights of the soul that happened,
Yeah.
very rapidly over a short period of time. A couple things come to mind too. Well, one of them is what you said earlier about owning everything. Like,
Yeah.
you can't divorce yourself from any aspect of the universe. You can't consider yourself not, you cannot say I am that, but I'm not that and that and that. You are either the I am or you're not, I mean. And so, but anyway, I had a really beloved sister on here when we first started, a couple of years ago, and she came on without her face, right? And she's an attorney, and so she was raped at I mean, I'm talking like 11, 12 years old, and got pregnant, right? And I, without getting all the details of her life, that wasn't what she was the story she was telling. But anyway, she had 2 or 3 traumatic sexual episodes. The episodes that we did were really, really deep and full of code activation for people, because what ended up happening was she became an attorney with a specific focus to represent offenders of the most heinous crimes, particularly sexual.
Yeah.
And this was infinite intelligence coming into her in her own in her own experience as the center of the universe, to integrate, to understand, to get to that point of owning. She went into it to try to understand what was that energy, right? And so it was a profound experience. Her passion runs as deep as yours, as you were explaining that issue. And I remember also, just on a concluding note, that I guess it would have been about a year and a half ago when the Me Too movement came out. I ended up having a memory that had come up before, but not as as much detail. And in the middle of that consciousness, where people were coming out on the Me Too thing, first the women, and then some men started stepping up. And it reminds me of like an old transmission that I got a couple of years ago, where it was talking about planetary consciousness. And on most planets, like the Earth was a little bit different, was what I was getting at the time. But that, like, almost like, if you put it in metaphoric terms, when people go to sleep at night, we all connect our consciousnesses and merge, and you have like a planetary consciousness and understanding. And that seems to be, with evidence like the Me Too movement and other things you're talking about, that seems to be the way it's working, that collective consciousness, that a non-physical, is really taking root and expanding now, and creating a direct impression on our physicality and our physical experience that we share together.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Wow, that's incredible. That story about the attorney, that for me is pure mastery. And that's the type of people that I was talking about. Exactly. Those are the people that are going to shift that. Now, that's not for everyone. That's going to be some few that are ready to do that. But to all degree, the way that it is expressed here is that, so the concept of, let's say, abuse, or the concept of sexual violence, or any sort of control or domination, we look to within the self. Where are we abusing ourselves? We're not looking to that, all of that out there. We're looking in here. Where am I abusive to myself? Where do I control myself daily? Where do I control my voice? Where do I abuse myself with food, with thoughts, with negative beliefs, or treating myself badly? Those are the way that the individuals shall wake up the collective in wholeness. And like you said already, the collective already knows from all aspects. But we are here on the leading edge. We are here where we can taste it and touch it and feel that pain and feel that suffering, and see and feel like those who are discovering this broader perspective. And this beautiful lady that has taken that step, it's incredible. So we have to look within. Where are we represent what those represent? Where are we giving that to ourselves daily? Where are we holding ourselves? Where are we starving ourselves? If you look at the wider things in the world, where are we starving ourselves of love? Starving people of the world. Where are we at war with ourselves? We're in war in our own mind. That's the war you see in the world. Where are you? The collective consciousness is showing up these characters, like these leaders of countries and these corporations and these things, to show you that what is within, because we're not separate of those. And the ones that hurt the most, and the ones that stand out the most, and the ones that are just flashing all over your live vision and all of that, they are the ones that are the deepest truth, the deepest wounds. And whenever we can own them, that is when we're moving into awareness, a perspective of higher consciousness. So those brave souls that are doing that, and us that are speaking about it even, and those that are moving through are the ones that are shifting our ability. And one person doing that opens a potential for all others. So she opened that potential now for many others to do something similar.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a, you know, if you go back a couple, 2-3 years ago, you could look at it and say it's a deep and complex, energetic, just mess, like a bunch of wires or spaghetti, just all, it's just, but now it's starting to be a little clearer. And I think that comes with the higher awareness and the better communication and understanding of our multidimensionality and all that. But it is, and the thing about the whole, people talk about, the sacral, the lower chakras, the root chakra, that's the survival. But all of this sexual repression, oppression, the victimization, the molestations, rapes, the whole 9 yards, this stuff is like, to me, it's like, it's like the thickest, last, biggest shroud on the soul, however you want to put it. It's like it actually, I've, in my own experience anyway, I realized how it actually is present wherever I'm at energetically with that situation, right? With my own energy in terms of, what I've resolved, what I haven't resolved, what I'm conscious of, what I'm not conscious of, what I've integrated. But it affects every single aspect of my life in a way nothing else does. It affects the way I might communicate with the opposite sex or the same sex. It affects the way I get along with my kids or my parents. It affects obviously, a relationship like I have with Morgan. It's so, it's such, the intricacies are incredible in our behaviors, whether we're opening or not opening the door for a woman, or whether we're, serving food or cooking or whatever it is, it actually affects us to the core. And to me, that is, no pun intended, like the root of our liberation is to clear that up. And to me, like where the physical and non-physical meet is in that sacred sexual vibration, that because it is not in a human way, but it is a power that is incredible. Like maybe it's the power of creation. I don't know. I'm not sure, but it's wow. The sex thing is, or the sexual related matters, is like the big one, it's just huge. And I guess that's why it's becoming more and more, even in the mainstream media, is starting to be leaked out more and more. Maybe that's why, what needs to happen. I guess that's kind of what you're saying in terms of the issues and the characters that are on the world stage and what they represent.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I feel like it's the big domino. It's the one, because it's the one that, for like any human mind to get their mind around those things that we don't even know in the collective fully, like the extent of what this is. But to get your mind around that is just so far off what we came to be as humans and what we know as love and compassion. And it's so huge, and it's within all of us. It exists within all of us, whether you've experienced one side or the other. It's within all of us. So like you say, that it affects you every day. It affects everyone every day, but maybe they don't know it, or they don't name it like that, because it's a part of us. And whatever is rejected, whatever is repressed, which this of course has been strongly repressed, is building underneath. And it's every word. You can see it in all of the media, you can see it in the movies, the music industry. It's embedded throughout it all, and it's programmed into children from a very young age. So that is the biggest thing. And we have to start with the self, the sacred union within the self. The merging of the masculine and feminine within self is the beginning to the healing, or the the new perspective of what this is, because we're focusing on one perspective. Now, this perspective is a broader perspective. It's a union of the masculine and feminine, and that sexual energy is existent within the one being, and it doesn't need another, and especially in the ways that has happened and what has happened in the patriarchal system. This is the single most powerful process that anyone can do on their inner journey, is divine union within, merging the masculine and feminine within the self. Then the externals, they are there to serve and awaken and remind them of that unity within themselves. So this is the journey, and this was what will shift the collective perspective, I feel.
Yeah, and that's and then when you start to see the manifestation of that, that's where the fun can start. I guess that's where I'm at. We're in elementary school, but it's yeah. And you were saying yeah, and the thing is, it's like, I mean, I'm not a practitioner. I mean, I've done sessions with people over the years, just impromptu things. I've never been someone who would consider myself an energy practitioner, but I guess we all are. But if and of course, I'm in a divine union with one who has been for many, many years. But if I look at, you know, like if somebody walks in the door at this point, as I understand things, somebody walked in the door and said, you know, I'm starting with nothing. I'm just looking for the best place to start. I can't imagine, by whatever method, modality, or process or whatever, not saying, hey, why don't we dig into the experience of your sexuality? And of course we're talking about from the birth to today. Where are you at? Let's contact your higher self. Let's connect. Let's go into you know, going into past experiences or whatever you call it, hypnosis and all that. I can't imagine anything being more, and I could be wrong, I'm just saying, as I look back at everything right now and talking with you, that could be more, potentially more transforming than taking those bits and pieces that we've all carried, both, you know, into the world and also in our experience here, clearing that stuff up. Because that is, I guess, masculine and feminine here is the last point of separation. And how are you going to have divine union inside yourself if you've got any type of bias, unconscious or conscious, of the opposite sex or the same sex? You know, my thing, which kind of shocked me, I knew for 6, 7, 8 years, I had a conscious journey to make peace with the divine feminine. You know, and I met Morgan, and it continued and so on. But I was kind of shocked to get to a point a couple of times and go, wow, I also got this bias and prejudice and imbalance towards the male gender, you know?
Absolutely.
So it's some deep stuff. I can't imagine. Do you have a lot of clients do you find that that's where the biggest gold is? I mean, what's your experience? I mean, do you find that, you know, that's where people can clear the most, I guess, in their sexual trauma and all that?
Yeah. So what I share is that for me, that is my journey. That is what and it wasn't something that I chose consciously. It's something that has emerged, and I have seen absolutely miraculous transformations and empowerments and things that I just can't even imagine. And I'm just in constant awe of these beings that I co-create with, and they are drawn to me and I'm drawn to them by divine guidance, and we are always in a co-creation. I never see, like you said earlier, I never see this teacher-student thing. There is oneness. We're leaders of one, and we're all leading each other home, and we can take any path that we want, but we're always there. So I feel, for me, I know from my perspective, this is my reason for being here. And I've been gifted with many different tools and aspects, multidimensional tools to work with this. The first being breathwork has been the most transformational tool of my personal journey, and working with others, especially around this, but it's not limited to that. So it's like, it's a seeded technology that I received. The way things happen for me, it's crazy. Like you talked about, things happen fast. The way things happen for me is I have nothing. Then I go to sleep one night and I wake up the next day and something's just there in wholeness, in completeness. This is what happened with breathwork. And I began working with people, and well, firstly, I experienced it myself. I healed an apparently uncurable back condition using breathwork myself. moved through all that normal light worker story and coming out of depression and all of that. And then I started working with other people, and I've seen instant transformations, absolutely instant transformation. There's no limit to what can happen with the breath. And what I love about breath is that it's self-healing. Again, I don't see myself, we use the word facilitator because I'm standing up there, laying down there doing the breathing, but I see it as a co-creation, and I see it as a gift that we've been gifted with, especially around sexual trauma, but it's not limited. It's like literally anything. And it's the first connection that I felt in my life as love, as God, as unconditional, as purity. That was the gateway for me. And when I had that experience, I said, I'm spending the rest of my life sharing this with people. Now that has grown into many different things, the channeling, shamanic work, just everything. I don't even know what I do. I have no idea. I just know I just turn up and things come through me, and it happens very fast. So I feel like definitely breathwork is just an absolute, there's nothing faster, there's nothing more empowering, and there's nothing more natural and beautiful as your own breath, life force itself. And it has an intelligence, and it knows what to do. I just guide people. I just hold space for them. I just make them feel safe, and they can fly, and they can create whatever it is that they wish to create. That's what I'm here, is be a space holder, and to give them the practical tools and merge the practicality with the spirituality, and merge the self-realization with the having a fucking good time on this planet while we're human. That's what it's all about.
You've been hanging around Melissa too much. With the F-bomb.
She rubs off, doesn't she?
But you know, I spoke about this a couple times, but yeah, you know, the thing about the breath work, right? I've never been much of a conformist or typical, you know, but so I might dabble in this and dabble in that, but I mostly just do what I want to do or whatever, you know, however you explain that. But I remember, and I guess what I'm saying too is that regardless of all the rhetoric and processes, modalities, philosophies, whatever, one thing we can all do and understand is breathing. And of course it's written about it in every single, you know, school of thought. But I remember when I was about 25 and I had, you know, I had my first Kundalini experience, which I shut down after that for years. But it happened because of breath work. And it happened, I would go to bed at night and I would do a meditation, which was me to go on a beach. And then I'd have this, you know, this guide come in and we'd talk. But the way I went into it was I always started this breathing exercise that I had picked up in a book or something, which was pretty simple, you know, and, but I did it for, you know, I want to say 2 to 3 weeks. And I could feel I didn't know what it was at the time, but I could feel the energy of the Kundalini, like, you know, start up. I'm like, oh, that's weird. But then it came all the way up my head and went out, you know, and did what it does. And it freaked me out. But it was breath work. It wasn't the meditation. It was just breathing without any conscious intent. Well, I guess I probably did have a desire to expand and to come into greater, you know, whatever connection with, you know, that is. But it was the breath. I just did the breath and it popped. And I love what you say too, because if you look at a situation, you know, such as say a trigger, say as a triggering event or encounter with someone, or if you look at the big picture, you know, say a daily routine or whatever the case is, it's the perfect go-to every time.
Yeah.
You know, if you're in a situation, you get uptight, you just walk away for a second, start breathing, you know what happens. I mean, you're been doing that for a long time. So that's great advice.
Well, no, I forget. As I always say, I teach what I need to learn. If I remembered it all the time, my life would be a whole lot easier. I forget all of the time. But yeah, you're right. It's like the one thing that no matter what, everyone can use. It's freely available. It's all of the time. It doesn't matter how shallow you breathe or how open you breathe. Whenever you consciously use it, it's literally a tool for ascension. It's a tool for awakening. And it's like, it's too good to be true for people. People want it complicated and they want the 25 steps to awaken and they want all of this shit. No, the breath is the thing that can take you instantly. It's the bridge between the physical and non-physical, and you can move into that in minutes. So you've got people in the mainstream now, like Wim Hof, like the Iceman. Now he's just bringing like what Leonard Orr rebirthing that, but he's bringing it into a modern way of doing it, and he's doing like all these superhuman things, which is incredible. But this was in all the yogic philosophies. It's in all of the teachings. It's been, like you said, it's in every philosophy. But when that's used consciously, there is, I'm going to say confident, there's no limit to what you can achieve or experience in breathwork. I've had that experience. I've heard it from others. I can't even begin to tell you the things that have happened, because there's no limit to it. Anything can occur, and it's just powerful, and I cannot speak highly enough about it. Changed my life. Got me higher than anything I ever took, anything I ever ingested in my life. Just pales in significance when you have that experience.
I probably already know the answer to this question, but I love to ask people like you, what do you do when you get triggered? What do you do when
you mentioned my family. You mentioned my family earlier. So I am married to my soulmate, Absolute. Just she has patience of a saint. She's just the most incredible being. We met on winter solstice 2015, and it was just instant soul recognition. And from that moment, we were in. I call shadow integration now, because I kind of shifted it and around triggers. From that very moment, we just knew what we were here for, and we went into literally this last 4 years of this integration, triggers arising. We continued like this. We were just given direct mirrors, and we were just going through it. And we stepped out of society completely. We left where we met each other in Dubai. We went to India, did yoga teacher training, traveled around Europe, and then we went into a hideout, and we just continuously worked on ourselves, continuously mirroring each other, going to the depths, uncovering all of the traumas. So every time we were dealing with it, we were bringing it up, we were seeing how it is us, we were seeing ourselves in the other, and we were bringing it into balance. So we were integrating every time. So I'd like to say I breathe every time. I'd like to say I know what I do. I teach what I need to learn. Many times I mess up and I react and I respond as a 14-year-old traumatized boy. But what we do now is we always deal with it. And my wife, God bless her, it's not hard. It's not easy to live with me, because I am relentless. I am relentless in this pursuit of the truth. So I'm very blessed to have the most patient, most beautiful, most loving being that agrees to go through this journey with me. And she is my greatest teacher, and she is my greatest guide. And it's all with our interactions. And now I share it with other people, and it's getting space, it's getting a breath, taking a break, and always coming back to what is this showing about me? What part of myself do I wish to embrace, to love, to integrate? What part of me is this person, this thing showing? How can I? So I talk about trigger. So when you get triggered, you're pointing at a person. This is the trigger. It's a gift from God, and the 3 fingers back here is where you can find the gift.
Yeah. Good comments too.
So I mess it up sometimes, and then I do it well sometimes.
Well, you know what? I mean, but this is the shit dizzle, man. I mean, this is like, people that are out there teaching, first of all, I even if I don't agree with somebody or I don't resonate, I would say that's a better word now. If I don't resonate with somebody, I have the utmost respect. I really do, because I know to a degree anyway, some degree or another, what it takes to put yourself out there, I mean, we're all walking a line, and on one side's the soul and one side's the ego. And as we get to the end of this thing, we're probably going to find out it's all the same damn thing. Just, but yeah, I respect people that put it out there, and, but I love the energy and the frequency of people that are like, but at the end of the day, I know this, I know that, I've learned this, I've learned that. This is, take what resonates. And I'm still just like you. I get up every day, I put my socks on, and I have to brush my teeth and comb my hair, and I look at my face and say, oh my God, you're getting older. but yeah, I mean, it's the real deal. Now I wanted to ask you, I mean, obviously I've been, the interesting thing too is, I met Morgan around the time you met your wife.
Mm.
And so
Really? Winter solstice is
that's
around that
been a
time?
real, yeah. Well, it was September the 3rd. So it was about 3 months before that. But
Wow, okay.
I remember because I really hadn't been in the game. I don't want to get off subject, but I hadn't been in the game. You know, I did my own thing that I was told, and I put my stuff out, you know.
Mm.
But then I met her, and this whole journey started. A lot of what you were
Yeah,
describing about when you guys went into hiding. I mean, we
yeah.
weren't in the same country. We did work consistently all the time. Most of
Mm.
it was my stuff.
Oh,
I'm
same,
sure
yeah.
that, you know, along the way she had revelations and stuff. But my question is, so like, you know, the sacred union on the inside uh, is seemingly taking root. People are starting to talk about it and actually talk about it from a point of experience.
Mm.
And then you have, like you talked about earlier, then you start to create, whether it's sacred union or whatever, but then you start to create what you've, for lack of a better word, accomplished on the inside.
Mm.
How I mean, you know, how how much different, because I know you've been doing this a long time, how much different has your journey been in this shared experience for 4 years, still doing the same thing, still growing, expanding, and elevating, searching, seeking, finding, you know, how has it been different to have that physical manifestation of your divine feminine with you each and every day?
Oh, it's incredible. As I said, my greatest teacher, my greatest support, my greatest love. And like just today, we do this publicly. This is the thing. We share everything. We tell like I more so myself, but we share publicly. So like I don't like in the mystery school and everything that I share, whether I'm teaching, I'm channeling, whatever I'm doing, I will come in when I'm having the crazy days and we've had something happen and you know something I share everything. So I don't just always turn up in the highest aspect. I turn up when I'm in the depths. I've turned up in the mystery school, which I'm facilitating for 100+ people, sat on a rock crying my eyes out thinking I can't do this, but I'm telling people, I'm showing them, I'm being an example of what is the truth, and this plastic guru shit is falling away from, no one's buying that anymore, but they still a lot of people want people to tell them what to do. So it's incredible journey, incredible gift. And it's just what has changed is that how fast we can go from, like you talked about, like let's say those 4 years ago, the triggers then to getting to a point of balance. Now we can, so, not all the time, but at times, like it happened today with my beautiful wife, like instantaneously, where she would have been triggered for weeks and maybe create a trauma in the body, she was instantly able to let something, you know, let it go. No, it's just integrated, it's there. That's what I found over this time is like the triggers. And people ask me a lot, do you know, do you get triggered? And I say, of course I get triggered. But what happens now, there's a space and I can see it's me. Whereas before, not always, of course, not always, but I'm able to have space. And even when the darkest things and the most painful things come, I have space. And that's all due to my continuous mirror relationship with this beautiful being who just blesses me every day. So, yeah,
Yeah, I
that
can
was the
relate to
biggest.
that. I can relate to that big time. Yeah, I can relate to that. It seems to be an expanding component, the physical manifestation or materialization of the couples, you know, which only makes sense. Only makes sense
Absolutely.
that we would create that, you know, and
Yeah.
not that it did it. But anyway, so I have one question I have to ask you
Okay.
before I forget, and we get out of here in a few minutes. But so how in the hell can you keep the Melissa Dehans and Shanines and Dr. Joes and all those crazy people in your crew? How can you keep them settled and aligned?
No rules, no bullshit, no pretending you're someone you're not, no telling people what to do, no creating something
Ah,
that's up here that someone is trying to achieve. My number one, uh, my number one mission is to get rid of everyone in the best possible way. I don't want anyone dependent on me. I'm not here to create followers. I'm here to walk with leaders, and that's always what I've shared. I'm saying that's always what I've shared. That this has happened in the last 10 months. This happened overnight. On the 1st of January this year, I was given guidance by Ascended Masters. You are going to create this. 12 days later, New Earth Mystery School was born, 47 people that I didn't know mostly arrived, and we've done 3 waves since. I have no idea what I'm doing. All I know is I know nothing, but I know that I hold a space of authenticity and raw vulnerability, and I can be a vehicle for the highest truth. So there's no roles, there's no hierarchy, there's no need to be someone. There actually is no requirements whatsoever. It's a space where people can be and they can use it as they wish. So there is nothing to control. There's nothing to do. When people fall, they're picked up. When people rise, they're celebrated, as they have been many times on your show. So it's easy.
I like it. Sounds like Soulogy. Because to me, it's just an energy. New Earth Mystery Schools is a name for the same. Yeah. So do you and your beloved partner, do you guys ever do lives together?
Yeah, we do them all the time. Yeah, we usually come on and share some stuff whenever things are coming up for us. We share them a lot. And our little master being that arrived in October of last year, 1-year-old, our son Angelo, just absolutely incredible. So he comes on lives with me all the time. He's been given mudras. He does telepathic communications. He named himself at 5 days old. He told us independently what his name would be, and we should have known what that would be like. So he doesn't want. We're just looking after his body for a little while. He is ready.
Yeah, you're. Well, I mean, these kids, man. I mean, it's like they are the frequency. They are the New Earth frequency. There is no.
Yeah.
There is no, even in the teenagers. I still got a couple of teenagers, and it's like they don't know they can't talk about it. They don't, their brain doesn't even work that way. It's just like they go to what they flow with. They go to, and they do have, I think they have, because I've had helped raise 6 kids. I mean, but they seem to have a quicker journey to taking on responsibility or taking responsibility and not blaming. I mean, if I look at the older ones, it took more work or whatever the case was, and maybe it's just me, but these younger ones, they might go through a little tough time, and then they go, that ain't gonna work, no, I'm gonna do this, and so they seem to move through that to an independent point quicker than the older ones, at least in my experience. So yeah, I'd love to. I'm sure Morgan's going to hit you up after hearing what you just said. Would love to do a show with your partner, and if she comes on, Morgan has to come on. So that'd be a cool conversation.
Absolutely,
that would be cool, and yeah, and then collaborating again, I think would be cool. Yeah, I think I've been watching y'all's energy, and I say you're the crew over there, whatever that name may be, but that whole group over there, which is primarily UK, there's really a lot of community there and support. It's the same type of energy. Shanine's been incredible. Dr. Joe, all of them, Melissa, but Shanine really likes
Sarah
what she's
as well.
doing.
You got Sarah.
Encourage her. Sarah, I think Sarah's coming on tomorrow. Yeah, Sarah's. Yeah, I mean, all of it. It's gold. It's gold. So I like to just keep connecting the dots and co-creating and collaborating. But if it's cool with you, we'll reach out to you.
Sure, we'll be up for it. Absolutely, we'd love to. I love what you're doing. I love your passion, and I love what I said earlier. You're prolific, because I know what this is like to turn up every day. I did it for quite some time myself, just interview. It's like I just want to give you deep honor and respect for what you're doing, and thank you for what you're moving for the collective. And it's those little bits add up to huge expansion. So it's beautiful. So thank you for having me. We'd love to co-create again.
Yeah, very, very much so. And you're very welcome, and thank you. I look forward to the next one. I hope it won't be too long, because I really dig the vibration and the co-creation frequency that we have. Thank you a lot, beautiful. Martin, and best to you and your family. And Angelo, give Angelo a big third eye kiss for me. You take care, man.
It's done.
Peace out.
It's done. Peace. Thanks. Ciao.
Thank you.